Recorded Books presents Dark Renaissance, The Dangerous Times and Fatal Genius of Shakespeare's Greatest Rival, by Stephen Greenblatt, narrated by Eduardo Ballerini. Chapter 1. A World Apart. To a sophisticated Italian who traveled to England in the late 16th century, the island might not have appeared, as it had to the ancient Roman poet Virgil, wholly separated from all the world. But it would certainly have seemed bleak. To be sure, in London the visitor would have seen many signs of wealth and power: the sprawling royal residence of Whitehall, grand dwellings along the Thames for the leading aristocrats and their entourages, the magnificent abbey at Westminster housing the royal tombs. In the busy commercial centre paved streets, some of them graced with beautiful fountains, a brooding fortress said to have been built by Julius Caesar and used in the 16th century as a prison, a mint, an armory, and the site of a royal menagerie. But there was much else that would have given a foreign visitor pause. The weather was a trial. England, along with much of northern Europe, found itself in the midst of what is now termed the Little Ice Age, with bitter cold winters and fierce storms that destroyed crops and caused periodic famine. The roads were terrible, and after dark they were the haunts of robbers. In London the most popular entertainments were animal fights. Large crowds paid to see a horse with a monkey on its back attacked by fierce dogs. The poor beleaguered horse would gallop and kick, the monkey would scream, the audience would roar. When the exhausted horse collapsed and was killed, it would be time to bring out the bears and bulls, tie them to stakes, unleash the dogs, and repeat the fun. "This sport," remarked a visitor from the continent, "is not very pleasant to watch." In the churches, psalms were sung, and Mass was celebrated not in the time-honored Latin, but in plain English. The Reformation had left other, more tangible marks as well. "It is a pitiful sight," wrote an Italian merchant who kept a journal of his visit to London in 1562, "to see the beautiful marble statues of saints and other decorations there broken and ruined because of their heresy." In the streets, foreigners were advised to keep a low profile, since the crowds could be suspicious or hostile. Even hospitable encounters could cause considerable bafflement. If you were invited to dinner, you had to brace yourself. "It is almost impossible to believe," remarked the merchant, "that they could eat so much meat. To wash it down, the English make a drink from barley and the seeds of hops which they call beer, healthy but sickening to taste." Compared to Italian women, English women seemed unnervingly free. They could go out of the house by themselves, unaccompanied by their menfolk, bustle about in the markets and serve in shops, even go by themselves to public entertainments. "They kiss each other a lot," observed the merchant of the men and women he was observing. "If a stranger enters a house and does not first of all kiss the mistress on the lips, they think him badly brought up." And yet at the same time women deemed to be scolds could be literally muzzled by a horrible device called a brank, and anyone suspected of sexual immorality could be publicly whipped and shamed. It was disorienting. The mansions along the Strand and the handsome Royal Exchange in the city centre gave way almost at once to a vast warren of tenements and hovels. Half-timbered buildings with dormers and gables extended out over the streets, blocking the light and forming malodorous tunnels for the carriages and pack animals and pedestrians to pass through. The narrow lanes were filled with excrement and offal. On London Bridge, alongside shops for luxury goods, the severed heads of convicted traitors were stuck up on spikes for passers-by to contemplate. On the gallows near Tyburn, there were public mutilations and hangings almost every day. The people spoke a language largely unknown to the rest of the civilized world. Virtually nothing written in English had aroused sufficient interest to merit translation into one of the dominant continental languages or into Latin, the shared language of learning. Early in the century, an Englishman, Thomas More, had published a brilliant short work in Latin, Utopia, that quickly earned him Europe-wide acclaim. But More had been beheaded by the merciless King Henry VIII. Two gifted poets in Henry's court, Thomas Wyatt and Henry Howard, Earl of Surrey, had some success importing and adapting Italian and French poetic models. Wyatt introduced the sonnet form into English.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.